is dark psychology. Have you ever met someone who always seems to know exactly what to say? Someone who can make you feel guilty without directly blaming you? Someone who makes you question your own memory? Or someone who slowly changes the way you think while making you believe that every decision was completely your own? What if I told you that these behaviors are connected to something called dark psychology? Dark psychology is a term used to describe the study and understanding of psychological tactics that can be used to influence, manipulate, deceive, or control other people. But there is something important you need to understand. Dark psychology is not a magical power. It is not mind control. And it doesn't mean that every persuasive person is secretly dangerous. Instead, it helps us understand the darker side of human behavior, especially how manipulation can happen in relationships, friendships, workplaces, and everyday interactions. And once you understand these patterns, you become much better at recognizing when someone is trying to influence you in an unhealthy way. So, let's look deeper. 1. Manipulation. The first major concept connected with dark psychology is manipulation. Manipulation happens when someone tries to influence your thoughts, emotions, or behavior in a deceptive or unfair way. For example, imagine you tell someone, "I don't want to do this." Instead of respecting your decision, they say, "Wow, I thought you actually cared about me." Notice what happened. They didn't directly force you. Instead, they created guilt. Now you're not thinking about what you actually want. You're thinking about how to avoid feeling guilty. That's manipulation. A manipulative person may use guilt, fear, sympathy, pressure, or emotional reactions to get what they want. And sometimes the manipulation is so subtle that you don't recognize it until much later. 2. Gaslighting. Another behavior often discussed in dark psychology is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where someone repeatedly causes another person to doubt their memory, perception, or understanding of events. Imagine you clearly remember someone saying something hurtful to you. Later, you confront them. They respond, "That never happened. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. You always misunderstand me." If this happens repeatedly, you may eventually start questioning yourself. You might think, maybe I really am remembering it wrong. And that's exactly why gaslighting can be so damaging. The goal is not simply to disagree with you. The problem is when someone repeatedly distorts reality in a way that makes you lose confidence in your own judgment. Emotional manipulation. Another powerful tactic is emotional manipulation. Humans naturally want to be loved, accepted, respected, and understood. A manipulative person may use those emotional needs against you. For example, they might give you affection when you do what they want, and become cold when you don't. This can create a cycle. You start changing your behavior just to receive their approval. Eventually, you may stop asking, "What do I actually want?" and
4. Love bombing. Have you ever met someone who became extremely affectionate very quickly? Constant compliments, constant messages, huge promises. They make you feel like you're the most important person in the world. This behavior is sometimes called love bombing. Love bombing can involve overwhelming someone with attention, affection, gifts, praise, or promise in order to create a strong emotional connection very quickly. But here's the important part. Not everyone who shows strong affection is manipulating you. Sometimes people genuinely become excited about a new relationship. The warning sign is what happens afterward. If the affection suddenly becomes conditional, if they begin demanding control, or if they use the affection they gave you as a reason to control your behavior, then you should pay attention. 5. The silent treatment. Another psychological tactic is the silent treatment. There is an important difference between taking space and using silence as punishment. Sometimes people genuinely need time to calm down. That's healthy. But deliberately refusing to communicate in order to make someone anxious, guilty, or desperate for approval can become a form of emotional manipulation. For example, someone may suddenly stop responding because they want you to chase them. You start wondering, what did I do? Are they angry? Should I apologize? And eventually, you may apologize even when you did nothing wrong. The silence created the pressure.
The need for approval. Here's something many people don't realize. Manipulation often works because it connects to something that already exists inside us. One of the strongest examples is the need for approval. Most people want to feel accepted. So if someone learns that you desperately want their approval, they may use it to influence you. They might say, I expected better from you. I thought you were different. Everyone else agrees with me. Suddenly, you feel like you need to prove yourself. And that's when you may make decisions based on their expectations instead of your own values. Learning to tolerate disapproval is therefore a powerful form of psychological protection. You don't need everyone to agree with you, and you don't need everyone to like you. 7. Why do people manipulate others? This is where things become interesting. Why would someone manipulate another person? There isn't one single answer. Some people manipulate because they want control. Some do it because they fear rejection. Some learn manipulative behaviour from the environment. Others may simply have developed unhealthy communication patterns. And some people deliberately manipulate because they believe getting what they want matters more than how their actions affect others. But understanding the reason behind manipulation doesn't mean you have to tolerate it. You can understand someone's behaviour without accepting awful behaviour. 8. How can you protect yourself from manipulation? So, how do you protect yourself from manipulation? First, slow down your decisions. Manipulative people often benefit when you react emotionally. If someone is pressuring you to make an immediate decision, give yourself time. You can simply say, I need some time to think about this. Second, pay attention to patterns, not isolated incidents. One argument doesn't automatically mean someone is manipulative, but repeated guilt-tripping, lying, intimidation, reality distortion is worth taking seriously. Third, trust your boundaries. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to change your mind. And you are allowed to leave conversations that become disrespectful. Fourth, look for evidence. If someone verbatimly tells you that you're remembering everything incorrectly, what they importantly think to an appointment, this can help you separate facts from emotional confusion. Finally, don't be afraid to ask someone you trust for an outside perspective.
Sometimes manipulation becomes difficult to recognize when you're emotionally involved. Dark psychology isn't about becoming a master manipulator. It's about understanding the darker patterns of human behaviour so you can recognize them. Because manipulation doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it sounds caring. Sometimes it looks like love. Sometimes it sounds like concern. And sometimes it comes from someone you never expected. The goal isn't to become suspicious of everyone. The goal is to become more aware. Pay attention to how people make you feel. Pay attention to repeated patterns. Pay attention when someone constantly makes you feel guilty for having boundaries. And most importantly, pay attention to how you behave when you're around them. If you constantly feel confused, anxious, guilty, or afraid to say what you really think, don't ignore that feeling. Understanding psychology should not make you paranoid. It should make you more aware. Because when you understand how manipulation works, you become harder to manipulate. And sometimes, the strongest form of protection isn't learning how to control other people. It's learning how to control your own reactions, protect your boundaries, and trust your judgment. This is Facts with Emaan. And remember, understand the mind, protect your mind.